Hello everyone and welcome back to a best of 3 series of professional StarCraft 2. Today it's time for a Protoss versus Zerg, where in game number 1 we find ourselves on Hardwire. Now I'm very excited for today's cast because of the player right here in the top right hand corner of the map. Playing with the blue Zerg drones from South Korea, we have none other than Su. Now Su returned to StarCraft about 2 weeks ago when he finished his mandatory military service. Honestly, extremely exciting. Su has been one of the players that I personally studied a lot back in the day. So personally, for example, I've never been a big fan of playing late game just because I'm really quite bad at microing multiple spellcasters with Zerg all at once. Su, I mean, I'm sure he's perfectly capable of playing that style, but he's always been very aggressive, especially in the middle stages of the match. Maybe it's changed, I don't really know. But I do know that usually, at least back in the day, he would go for these really sharp timing attacks that would just completely catch the opponent off guard, and he's been extremely successful throughout his career. His tournament results, however, we'll go over them in just a little bit. Let's talk about his opponent first, with the Red Protoss probes, a man who also returned from his mandatory military service, but quite a bit longer ago, about a year back. Now the highest ranked Protoss player in the world, also from South Korea, we have none other than Hero. Now I've talked about Hero a lot over the last couple of weeks, so just go back to any of my previous Hero casts. I've done like 5 dozen of them over the last 2 months, okay? Maybe a little bit less than that, but I've casted a lot of Heroes games, so I'm sure you're well familiar with him right now, and if not, go check out the YouTube channel. Make sure to subscribe while you're there, by the way. Let's talk about Su a little bit. So, Su is very well known, or I guess infamous, for getting second place at premier tournaments. So, I made a bit of a list. Now, mind you, the GSL Code S is considered to be the hardest tournament in all of StarCraft. Su got second place at the GSL Code S Season 1 2013. Second place, GSL Code S Season 1 2014. Second place, GSL Code S Season 2 2014. Second place, 2014 Pro League. Second place, DreamHack Stockholm 2014. Second place, GSL Code S Season 3 2014. Second place, Gamescom 2015. GSL Code S Season 1, second place in 2017. Second place at 2017 GSL Code S Season 2. And then also second place at the 2017 GSL, or actually not the GSL, no, the Global Finals, which is the World Championships. Basically what I'm trying to get at, if Su would have won every single one of those tournaments that I just mentioned, he would probably be considered the greatest StarCraft 2 player of all time. Now, he did have his fair share of successes as well. Primarily back in 2019 when he won IEM Katowice for $150,000, which I am very, you know, as a Su fanboy, I'm very happy to at the very least know that he did win one of those big premier tournaments. He also did win the TSL 5, which is a much smaller tournament, the 2015 Pro League, as well as the 2015 Kespa Cup. Getting second place, by the way, at the Global Finals. Okay, it still gave him $140,000 as well. So even though, you know, he's gotten a lot of second places, and that, I guess, overall is a little bit disappointing, it still, yeah, totals up to like, I think like $600-something thousand in prize money, which is not bad by any stretch of the imagination. But I think if he would have won it, all, he probably would be at like $1 million. He probably would have been actually the first person to $1 million, like 2 years ago. Anyways, it is what it is. Yeah, at some point, I guess when you lose, you know, a couple too many grand finals, you just start second-guessing yourself and play, yeah, significantly worse than every single one of the ones that are coming up as well. It's like a mental block, I suppose. Anyways, we'll see where Su is currently at. I mean, if there's one thing that's true for the guys that have gone to the military, it's that they've pretty much always come back, you know, mentally more strong, right? They've come back stronger as professional gamers. A little bit more mature maybe as well. Maybe they've seen a little bit more in life. Maybe they're a little bit more, I mean, I guess a lot of the pro players sit at home and they play video games all day, right? And I guess if you're suddenly forced out of your home for like 18 months and you have to go and hang out with other people and, you know, actually do physical exercise and all that, it probably makes you a different person. Anyways, I do know that Mr. Su, at some point during his mandatory military service, and I've never actually figured out if it was him, but I do know that at some point in the Korean ladder, their rank 1, 2, and 3 were all by an account name called Su. So I never figured out if that was actually Su himself, holding the rank 1, 2, and 3 during his service, but yeah, there's no denying that Su definitely did put in a little bit of practice because already, according to Aligilek, he's like considered to be the rank 12 in the world overall right now. So, even though he went away for a while, I guess, you know, maybe he had weekends off or something along those lines. I do think he's got a decent amount of practice in. So far, by the way, very standard opener here from the both of them. Nice little bit of harassment, though. Not bad whatsoever. I guess Mr. Su mostly just missed the massive Void Ray meta, which is not something that I think he would have been particularly successful in anyways. Going 4 gases here inside of the main base. 2 gases in the natural right now as well. And I'm assuming this is going to be a Spire follow-up. The problem is, he doesn't really know exactly what he's going up against. It's mass glaive adepts. We're now at 14 adepts, 44 probes. The third base here of the Protoss player is for all intents and purposes fake. He's trying to see if he can potentially win the game with this shenanigans instead. Checking if there's a 4th base right there on the right. That is not the best of shades. Oh, I think what he tried to do is actually shade into the main base there of the Zerg player. But because of a full wall-off over here at the front, that's a little move that Mr. Saro is very well known for. He's not going to be able to break through that wall, and because of that, the AI tried, I guess, sending the adepts right there to the bottom. Anyways, good transfuses here so far. Easy peasy hold for Su. This is one of those skill checks, right? One of those little moves right here where you're like, okay, are you actually good at the game? It's a killer timing, though. If you, for example, play a little bit too greedy, like going for a lair is sometimes considered to be a little bit too greedy. If you're not on point with a defense, you don't run your units in the right place, you can certainly lose the game right then and there. Anyways, Evo Chamber block does get killed here eventually. Still, this is some stellar defense right here by the Zerg. It's not over yet. It's very easy to still accidentally lose 24 workers. I've been here many times myself as well, where you're like, oh, I've done it. And then you have 2 adepts shading into a mineral line, and by the time you get over there, you lose like literally 10 more drones. Not ideal. But so far, the amount of losses right here for our Protoss are definitely not ideal either, yeah. 21 adepts have gone down at the cost of, well, just a bunch of minerals. Alright, Spire is about 3/4 of the way done right here as well. This is, of course, scouted here by Hero, but is there really something he can do about it? So, he starts up the Blink research, fair enough. Obviously, he's been making probes as well for the 3rd base, fair enough. But despite the fact that he's trying to win by just sheer harassment alone, Su looking very solid here in game number 1. Honestly, this is one of those moves where, like, if you're rusty and you haven't been playing a lot of StarCraft recently, you just lose to a build like this. You generally speaking only hold pushes like the Glaive Adept one, where you're very on point and you're very fast and you're not over-droning. In the end, though, yeah, that last little bit still actually did more damage there for Hero than the first 21 or so of those. Anyways, he's going to be able to counterattack right now with the leftover roaches. Immortals, though, are being pumped out 2 at a time. A Phoenix is coming up as well. Hydralisk Den? Hydralisk Den? Really, Su? Interesting. Hydralisk Den with a Baling Nest as well as +1 missile. Okay. So, none of the top-level Zerg players right now are playing Hydras against Protoss. None of them. The main reason we see Hydras in the current meta of StarCraft 2 is to morph them into lurkers. Don't get me wrong, Hydras can be really good. It's just that there's like 17 different Protoss units, especially in ZVP, that counter them. Against Terran, I guess you can use them to outrange Widow Mines, and obviously in ZVZ that can be quite useful as well in some scenarios, especially against Muta play, but generally speaking against Protoss, we really don't see Hydralisk very often anymore at all. I guess in this circumstance, did he see the double robo? No, he sees it right now, so I guess it's something that he does blindly. Interesting. I guess in this particular circumstance, he knows he's been forcing out a counter to the Spire. More often than not, that's going to be either Blink Stalker or, I guess, Phoenixes. Maybe that's the idea, that the Robo Bay is going to be delayed? Interesting. So the best counters that Protoss has against Hydras are things like Colossi, but also High Templar. Disruptors are pretty good. Even Zealots do quite alright. So it's a dangerous unit to make. Hydras are very much so glass cannons, where they deal a ton of damage, but they also, well, have like 5 health. Give or take. They have a little bit more than that, but they don't really have a whole lot of sustain, and because of that, they can be a little bit flimsy. I'm trying to think when the last time was that I've seen Hydras in Protoss versus Zerg. Like, as far as anti-air goes, Hydras are just not as solid. Like, Corruptors are considered to be significantly better in almost every way. We don't have a Hive yet either, though, for Su, so I do think he's actually going to go for some aggression here as a follow-up. Yeah, I don't think Mass Stalker is going to do very well, though, against Hydra Ling. Okay. So, you know what? Already, considering Hero is right now the highest ranked Protoss player in the world, Su is holding his own just fine. And considering he only just came back, that's pretty exciting. Alright, anyways. So, my main question, I guess, is how are we gonna deal right here with the Disruptors? Zerglings are pretty good, but usually Vipers are the answer. So if you're watching Serral play against this, or like Raynor, or Dark, or Rogue, or any of those guys, they will pretty much tech up towards a Hive and go Viper against this sort of thing. More often than not. There is an Infestation Pit coming up for Su, so maybe he's got the same idea. But Ling Bane can certainly do quite alright too. If you can micro the Banelings into those Protoss units, and not, I guess, Archons, it's pretty good. At this point, though, there's no Archons here in the mix whatsoever. Baneling speed is done. Su is setting up a huge surround. Disruptor Purification Novas, though, okay, do not connect with the biggest chunk of that army. Still, though, Banelings are starting to sneak through. Is there enough here for the South Korean Zerg to actually get some damage done? The second wave of Banelings blow up most of the Protoss units, and Su holds. Alright. Anyways, Hero. In the meantime, on the left side of the map, has already acquired the 4th base. Normally, this 4th base comes up on the right side. So, yeah, only just now is when Su gets a glimpse of it as well. There's no way, Hero. You can't take that one. It's not gonna happen, dude. Oh, okay, good counsel. Very good counsel, actually. It's obvious, obviously. Or obviously? Anyways, it's obvious to cancel those units when you look at it like that, but it's very easy to get greedy and be like, no, they're gonna finish! And then, you know, you lose all of them. Been there, done that. Really, Hero? Dude, I've been casting a lot of Heroes games recently because the guy is so much fun to watch. Look at this. This is the side of the Zerg, Hero. It's almost like a noob check right here, right? With that Glaive to Depth build right there from Hero in game 1. Oh my god. Oh my god. Oh my god. Okay. Ugh. Carnage. An absolute bloodbath right here on Hardwire, but I do think that Mr. Su is coming out ahead of this. Probes, by the way, going down as well in the meantime on the other side of the map as Lings ran into the natural. Only a bunch of Disruptors get a recall towards the base. Okay, a couple more Novas dealing a ton of damage. Hive at the 13-minute mark, just about to finish up. Hydra Ling Bane. Hydra Ling Bane with Roach Ravager support. Huh. How many queens did he make? Yeah, we've got 6 queens here, but I think those are all from the earlier stages of the game. As like a play against the Stargate opener. I don't know if he lost any. Yeah, he lost 1. Okay, so he didn't really make that many. Interesting. Now suddenly, though, the Roach Hydra clump right here is on top of the robotics facilities. Okay, now that is a nice hit. Still though. Oh, good detonation right there as well by Hero. Holding on by the skin of his teeth. We've come a long way in the last month or two of ZVPA. It's gone from being my most disliked matchup to one of my absolute favorites. And all it took was a Void Ray nerf. Anyways, now it's very Disruptor Stalker heavy though, which is an army that gets full-on countered by just mass Zergling. Especially when +2 melee finishes up. Okay, a couple more Disruptors there end up going down as well. Adrenal Glands makes a ton of sense in this circumstance. I'm liking the unit composition right here for Su quite a bit better. Then again, those Baneling detonations have not been that great. Hero getting some very favorable trading overall. He just doesn't have enough stuff though. No, he just doesn't have enough. GG. Alright, game 2. Glittering Ashes. Seems to me that Mr. Su still has it. Which is pretty cool. Yeah. It's 1-0, Maddox. 1-0. I mean, I know I'm casting this from a replay and you can't hear me in the in the past. That doesn't really make a whole lot of sense, but looks like other people already told you as well. Anyways, Glittering Ashes is going to be game number 2. Let's see what Mr. Hero decides to go for this time around. Is Su once again, by the way, going to go 15 hatch? Yeah, I believe he did go for a 15 supply hatchery in game number 1. This time, though, okay, Hero already playing a bit of a mind game, sending that probe so early that Zerg is not going to be able to plan down a hatchery even at 15 supply. I wonder if that means that Su is going to go, like, say, for example, Hero wins this game, that Su would go for a 14 hatch next time? Anyways, the standard for Zerg players is to go for a hatchery at 16. So you drone up until you have 16 workers and then you plant down the hatchery right over here. The problem is that Protoss players will usually try and block you. So in game number 1, Su decided to try and out-trick his opponent by getting it 1 supply sooner. Which is maybe not ideal, but at the very least he got it up and running. Yeah. 240 minerals right there on that spawning pool start. That's not as crisp as we like it to see. Anyways. Let us see what Mr. Hero is up to. 20 supply Nexus, usually followed up with a 20 supply Cybernetics core as well, so you cut 1 probe. The main reason why you cut that worker is to get the tech out pretty quick, but also the expansion. And since you have, yeah, plenty of probes available right now anyways, totally okay with this probe now returning to minerals. We should have 16 out of 16. And therefore, rushing out the additional worker is not as necessary. So I get this question every once in a while. Technically speaking, you do gain additional value by having 3 workers per mineral field. The problem is that it's not linear, right? So if you have a 3rd probe in this case, right, for every mineral field, they're all gonna take a little bit of a break before they actually get to mine. So even though you do gain a net positive for having more than, well, 16 workers in this case, more than 2 per mineral field, it's better to have them, yeah, spread out. It's optimal to mine with 2 probes, in this particular case, per mineral patch. But you could definitely go up to, I don't know, 18. Like, sometimes you see people going up to, like, 18 just because the 2 far away mineral fields do take a little bit more travel time, so it's kind of justifiable. Especially for Zergs, if they want to make, like, a Spore Crawler or a Spine Crawler later on. Sometimes we see, like, 18 out of 16. But 2 per mineral field is optimal. Anyways, it's going to be a Stargate opener right here. What's funny is that Hero vs. Su is a game that I literally could have casted in 2012. Like these guys. I don't know when I could actually look it up. Shall I have a quick look? We have a bit of time now anyway. I don't know when Alex started keeping track of pro games. I'll have to make sure I don't spoil myself for this particular match. But if I search Hero versus Su... No, that's Solar. Su. I wonder when the first time is that these two faced off against each other. Oracle coming out, by the way. Alright, search. Scroll to the bottom. Okay, so the very first logged match here is from the Pro League 2011-2012 hybrid season. That was a 1-0 for Hero. So literally a decade ago. Literally a full decade ago. It's the first time that these guys competed against each other in a tournament. That's kind of funny. Perfect timing right here on the spores. Dude, Su is looking very clean. Yeah, I'm really liking this, actually. Great stuff. Not really... I mean, maybe it's not 100% clean. Maybe it could be a little bit better. Right now, he doesn't have any lings over here, for example. That kind of hurts. These 2 adepts definitely coming up at an awkward moment. Okay. He decides to solve this by making even more drones. Just accepting the fact that he's losing a bunch of them. That's... Okay, so that is actually quite nice right there by Hero. But overall, I think we can all agree that Su is playing a pretty clean game. Hero's like, okay, those first 2 did quite well. Let me send out a couple more. Usually, Zergs will have a small group of Zerglings ready to go. I guess that Su decided to cut those out. Yeah, the main base is looking awfully exposed. Right as I say that he looks that he looks very clean, Su decides to lose a dozen workers. Great stuff. This is dealing more damage than the Glaive to Depth did in the previous game. And there were like, you know, 20 something of those. Alright. Alright, okay. So this is what we know a hero for. Relentless harassment. Good stuff. Sending it little groups of adepts 2 at a time. You'd imagine that 20 adepts are better than 2, but evidently that's not the case. Okay. Yeah, this is a little bit of sloppiness. This is not ideal. So also not adding on a Roach Warren. Okay, I was gonna say, we normally see that Roach Warren quite a bit sooner than this. Sooner? With the, okay, sorry. Anyways, Evo Chamber is a follow-up right now as well. Extra gas is acquired. So in the end, Protoss doesn't usually win straight up with the harassment, but the problem is, if Zerg now has to spend additional resources on getting those drones back up and running, the follow-up push from Protoss is usually quite a bit stronger, right? So it slows down the Zerg player, and that allows the Protoss to eventually overwhelm them. So it looks like Hero's follow-up plan right now is going to be Blink Stalkers with +1 ground weapons. I gotta say, I love it, Hero. I don't know if it's good, but I do like it. Yeah, I like it a lot. We have a Robo facility over here. Stalker Immortal. I mean, that's another style that we could have seen back in 2012. There's the Prism. Yeah, we're just going... Okay, so he's got 5 more gateways coming up, and he's already got 4. I mean, to be fair, 9 gateways, I don't like it. It should be 8 or 10. Not because that really matters, but because, you know, even numbers. Come on, you guys understand, right? 9 gateways, really? It should be 8 or 10 or 6. I can accept 7 because 7 is sometimes used in an all-in. 9... I do feel like a couple of those gateways should have been over here, creating like a wall-off. Anyhow. Stalker Immortal Sentry. It is just like 2012 all over again. At this point, we have a Spire coming up. We got Zerg trying to just not die. Dealing with stasis wards and trying to not take damage. The problem is that there's a huge Protoss army right now at his front door. Roaches are desperately being made right now. A couple of Ravages right here at the front. Honestly, this is a scary push. I mean, there's a lot of Zerglings in there. Zerglings are obviously quite decent against, you know, Stalkers, especially when they're well upgraded. I think that hero needs to go, man. Why are we giving Zerg time? I guess he's trying to wait for the creep to disappear. This is an old school timing attack. Okay, good set of force fields over there. Blinks aggressively forward as well. Alright. Good micro here by Hero so far. 9 more Stalkers are coming up. I think this might be working. Oh my god, yeah, he just blinks right into it. Oracle's coming up as well to deal some supplemental damage. They actually do lay down a lot of damage per second. There you go. Another blink right on top of his army. I think with +1 melee, maybe flooding Lings would have been better, but I guess with +1 missile, you're kind of locked into the Road Ravager approach. I mean, there's no 4th base on the back of this, and so far not a lot of workers are killed yet. But, yep, there it is. So, that brings us to 2,000 atmospheres. Final map for today. I want to see if Su now goes for a 14 hatch. So the norm is to go for a 16 hatch. In this series so far, he's been going for a 15 hatch. If he starts saving up right now, that would be kind of funny. I guess you don't need the overload at that point, though. Nah, I think he's still going to make at least 1 drone. It's awkward, though, because you're going to have an idle larva. Yeah, so he could make 2 drones right now. Instead, he only makes 1. Interesting. Hero, once again, being a bit of a jerk, though. Sending the probe so quick. Yeah, it's not going to happen. Yep. But now Mr. Su is in a bit of an awkward... Yeah, okay, now even the drone is being chased down. So sometimes you wouldn't be able to plant down even the 3rd base, and it could become a bit of a disaster, but then obviously you can send a drone to go to the natural instead. Anyways, I like what Hero is doing. Not falling for the tricks. Going for the mental warfare. To be fair, though, I mentioned earlier that the main thing they did in the most recent balance patch is nerf the Void Ray, right? It definitely has created a large variety in the openers that Protoss are going for. But one very significant change that I think a lot of people don't talk about too often is the Queen nerf. So, in the past, if Protoss would go for an opener and it didn't work very well, or they took a certain risk and they took a gamble, or they made a mistake or something along those lines that would put them behind, Zerg would basically instantly go for a Queen walk and just win the game. It didn't necessarily have to be done against a Stargate opener. It could be done against a Robo or a Twilight or something along those lines too. You could bring the Queens towards the other side of the map, and there wasn't really a whole lot that Protoss players could do against it. So if you didn't play a near perfect early game, you would just sort of lose against a Queen-based push. Since Queens now no longer can transfuse off creep, it allows for, yeah, a little bit of wiggle room. I mean, you can still bring the Queens across the map if you want to, obviously. You can still bring them in like an Overlord, or you can bring them in a Nidus Worm or something along those lines. But it slows everything down quite a bit, and it creates more of like an all-in for Zerg than it was previously, it seems. And yeah, I actually think that change is quite significant too. It does create a little bit more passivity in the early game, because at this point there's not really that much that Zerg players can do to punish Protoss. I think that's probably one of the reasons why we see a lot of Spire play right now. Anyways, first 6 or so minutes of the game are going to be all about the Protoss aggression, and after that, Zerg seems to have quite a few options. Wouldn't be surprised if Swarm Hosts decide to make a comeback as well at some point. I mean, Swarm Hosts, not really something we've seen much over the last few years, but I do think they have a little bit of potential. We'll see. I don't know. Making a prediction right now. You can hold me accountable for it. If we still don't see Swarm Host playing like half a year from now, just, you know, call me out on it, okay? But I wouldn't be surprised if it's going to make a comeback again, too. Alright. Stargate opener. Into Oracles. It seems like this is what we've settled on as like the new best build. Did he just get how many creep tumors? 2. Alright. Not bad. Oracle going into the main base. Spore Crawler actually a little bit late there this time around, I think. Yes. Alright, alright. So losing some of that crispness from the very first game. Getting punished for it immediately. This is where the best Protoss players in the world shine. If you make a little bit of a mistake, they'll be there for you, man. They'll be there to knock you down, make you feel bad about it. They're very happy to make you feel bad about mistakes you've made. So there's the Twilight Council coming up. So it looks to me like we're once again gonna go for an aggressive follow-up. Which of the options is it gonna be? Alright. Glaive Adepts. Game number 1, Sue obviously made that nice wall off in the Natural Expo. This time around, since the creep has been halted in this spot, I don't know if he's going to be capable of doing so without laying down another tumor. And I do feel like you probably want to go for... I don't think that's going to work out. So he's going to have to be a little bit more on point with the defense. Yeah, so the Roach Warren goes up in the back of the main base. So no cute little wall off there to try and slow things down. He realizes it at this point too. Probably wanted to put him at the front. Probably wanted to put an Evo Chamber on a Roach Warren right over there. Not gonna happen. So that does make the defense a little bit harder. It depends, actually. How many gateways are we gonna make? 4 gateways only at this point. Okay. Good crisis management here. Oracle just being quite annoying. There's the Robo facility. Here go the Adepts. So they've been warped in continuously out of those 4 gateways. 4 gateways isn't that much. But keep in mind, there's not really going to be that many reinforcements here either. It's a one-way trip for these Adepts. Are there? Okay, enough defenses for the Zerg. This is an excellent shade right here for Hero. Getting rid of most of those Lings. Not killing that many drones yet, but they're starting to drop. Gets the majority of the units out. Obviously, those Zerglings aren't free, right? You can hunt down only the Zerglings. Still sometimes be in a decent spot. Although, ideally, you do aim for at least a couple of drones. Stasis wards, I guess, still being annoying. I didn't actually catch any of those, but... Oracles are still maneuvering around the backs of the bases. Okay. Both of the sets of shades there do get cancelled. Follow-up here is once again Blink. Are we gonna go double Robo again? That would be kind of neat. Alright, anyways. Nice bit of harassment here by Hero to open things off in game number 3. Certainly putting him in a pretty good spot. So the problem is at this moment, right? At this particular point in the game, it's hard for Zerg to make a transition out of anything. So he could put down a Spire again if he wants to. The issue is, well, I mean, as soon as he finishes the lair. The issue is that playing a Spire from behind is not nearly as good. So, okay, we're gonna go into a Hydralisk Den once again. Interesting. So are we gonna go +1 missile then? I guess so. Anyways, maybe it doesn't matter because there's once again Adepts in the base. Adepts dealing a lot of damage. Roach is desperately trying to go after them, but the problem is without Glial Reconstitution, without speed, they're not really that good. The drones are starting to fall though. At the cost of quite a few Adepts as well. But the Adepts are trading very, very favorably. You don't really want to keep the Adepts around in the mid-game anyways. You want to change those for, or exchange those for other units. And so far, I mean, Mr. Hero is everywhere. He's playing Adept Whack-A-Mole right now. Where he knocks down a couple of Adepts on the left side of the map, and then the ones pop up again on the right side of the map, and then suddenly in the main base. Yeah, Hero is everywhere. Alright. In the meantime, the Protoss army's on the move. 2 Immortals, I imagine? Yes, inside of that Prism. Disruptors once more as a follow-up. It is, by the way, Hydralisks together with +1 missile, which is kind of curious. Hydras aren't going to be very useful here at all until those upgrades are done. So, I'm not convinced about the Hydra, man. But apparently Sue thinks it's a good idea. Okay, this is also a bit of an overextension right here, though, by Hero. Yeah, forced to recall. Loses 2 sentries, 3, so... No, 2 sentries. Prism inside of the main base. Don't lose that one. Alright. Instead, Hero decides to go for a 4th base. I thought maybe it was going to be an all-out, all-in. This does give Zerg a little bit of time right now to go into the Hydralisks. Groove Spines is the ranged upgrade. This next upgrade is called Muscular Augments, which is a speed upgrade. Hydras are basically pointless without those upgrades. I mean, the ranged upgrade, I guess, is a little bit more important, but... You need to be able to make, make sure you can split them, especially against units like Disruptors and whatnot, so without speed, it's not really like you can do that much either. Baneling Nest once again. Interesting. Okay. Hero. Not focusing on a very zealot-heavy army here in these last 2 games. Okay, gets a good Disruptor hit. Blinks forward as well with the Stalkers, though. Gotta be careful. Hydras deal way more damage than Roaches do, so you can't really be aggressively blinking forward like that without, you know, getting punished for it if there's a little bit too much Zerg. Against Roaches, you can sometimes just move back, but the Hydras will kill half of the units. Anyways. There's an Observer somewhere. Okay, it's finally coming up. Brave movement here, though. Careful now, Mr. Hero. Okay, Hero pushing at 2 spots at once. Zerg obviously way more mobile. Gets the kill on the base at the 6 o'clock, while also winning the fight up north, it seems. Splitting up the army so hard, man. Especially against Zerg, when you know they can dash between their bases very easily. Disruptor over there. Well, will get picked off, it seems, but already Mr. Hero is finding himself in a phenomenal position. Another Disruptor does go down. Banelings, though, can't really connect very well. And honestly, Banelings against Stalkers, I don't think it's gonna be that amazing of a trade anyways. Hero continues onwards with the mass Stalker army. GG is called. And despite losing game number 1, it is gonna be our Protoss player who obtains the victory. Hey, if you want to see more Sue and Hero games, make sure to subscribe. I try to post new StarCraft content pretty much every single day. So if you want to see more, make sure you hit the subscribe button so you get notified as soon as future videos go live.